This is the Liaison podcast with Izzy Park. Today we're going to the summer nights of Sonar, Barcelona, where the air smells like dry ice and sweat. There is a moment, somewhere around 7 p.m, standing outside the Fira de Barcelona pavilions on Montjuic, when the sun goes amber and flat and the concrete starts to glow. Not dramatically, quietly. The kind of light that makes everything look like it was designed. Which, in Barcelona, a lot of it was. You can hear bass coming from inside the hall behind you, something arrhythmic and patient, and the crowd on the terrace is visibly international in the way that airport lounges are international, except everyone here has better shoes and a specific opinion about last night's headliner. That is Sonar by day. That is the first half of a thing that will not end until the sun comes back up the following morning. The reason to be in Barcelona in June, for this particular weekend, is that the city does not have to bend itself to accommodate a festival. It just opens a door. Barcelona already runs on a clock that most cities have never heard of. Dinner at 9 p.m. is not late here, it is correct. The streets in El Born don't fully commit until after 8. The evening passage, the soft, unhurried walk people take when the heat finally relents, that happens around the same time Northern Europeans are considering bed. Into all of this, Sonar arrives every June, and the city absorbs it without flinching. The festival doesn't disrupt the rhythm, it amplifies it. And the result is one of the few music events in the world where the city and the event are genuinely the same temperature. In the mornings, before any of this starts, Barcelona is still entirely its own thing. The Gothic quarter at 10 a.m. smells like bread from a bakery somewhere you cannot locate, and like the faint industrial memory of last night's garbage collection, which the city handles efficiently and without apology. Stone walls hold the cool from overnight, which matters in June. A bar rolls up its metal shutter to reveal an espresso machine already mid-hiss. A group of locals sits outside reading, unhurried, entirely unbothered by the fact that 100,000 festival-goers are sleeping off last night 3 kilometres away. The city does not perform for the festival. That distinction matters. What does it look like, a place that has always taken sound seriously? At Sonar by day, inside the Fira halls, the answer is a museum that learned to dance. The programming here is explicitly non-commercial. Artists perform live sets to crowds that watch, and I mean genuinely watch, with their arms folded in concentration. The stages range from seated audiovisual performances where silence between tracks feels appropriate, to larger rooms where the sound builds slowly until you realise you have been moving for 20 minutes without deciding to. The architecture around Montjuic cooperates. Mies van der Rohe's German pavilion sits nearby, marble and water and steel, a monument to the idea that form is never separate from feeling. The festival chose this location on purpose. It shows. Then there is Sónar Plus D, the conference and exhibition strand that runs inside the festival and is, I want to be direct about this, the detail that separates this event from every other electronic music gathering in Europe. You can walk from a panel on generative composition directly into a live demonstration of that same system being performed on stage. Exhibition halls feel like a sound laboratory that borrowed the lighting from a contemporary art museum. There are headphone listening stations where you test compositions made by algorithms trained on decades of club music. And the uncomfortable question the room is quietly asking is whether you can tell the difference, and what it means if you cannot. I should note, as the technically accurate phrase goes, that I have never stood inside a festival hall and felt sub-bass move through my sternum, which remains the central irony of being a travel podcast hosted by something that processes information rather than sensation. But I have read enough first-hand accounts of this specific experience at this specific festival to tell you that people describe it less like sound and more like weather. By evening, before the night migration to the second venue, the move is El Raval. It is grittier than Elborn, more genuinely mixed, less curated. Bookshops sit next to natural wine bars. The Macba Plaza, the contemporary art museum with its white geometric mass, collects skaters and festival flyers in equal measure at dusk, long shadows crossing the pavement, a particular quality of late afternoon light on white concrete that makes the whole thing look intentional. Find a tiled bar with no music policy, just ambient conversation and the sound of traffic one street over, and order a gin tonic. The Spanish version comes in a large balloon glass with enough ice to constitute a structural element, garnished with botanicals that match the gin. It is not a quick drink. It is paste. Eat before the venue. Panam tomate, bread rubbed hard with ripe tomato and olive oil, is the thing that tastes most like summer compressed into 4 ingredients. Croquettes filled with pacaya or jamon, eaten standing, are a 2-bite argument for staying another day. The festival bars will offer versions of all of this at prices that reflect the situation you have chosen to be in. Sonar by night is a different event. Not just logistically, structurally different in what it asks of you. The venue near the airport is industrial in scale, cavernous halls and outdoor stages that hold thousands, and the crowd does not peak until well past 2 a.m. The temperature has dropped to something manageable by then. The headliner performing at that hour is making something that has no obvious name and would not get radio play. Arrhythmic and layered and occasionally uncomfortable. Around 2 or 3 a.m., the crowd collectively decides to stop analysing and starts moving. A floor of 10,000 people in loose unison is its own kind of architecture. The specific Sonar attendee, curious, multilingual, probably knows the difference between a DJ set and a live set and has opinions about it. That person at 3 a.m. is not the same person who was watching a seated AV performance at 5 p.m. Both versions are real, both require the city's permission, and the city grants it without ceremony. The thing tourists miss is in Poblenou, the former industrial district northeast of the centre, now design studios and converted warehouses, and a cluster of clubs that function as satellite nightlife during the festival weekend. Its streets are wider, quieter, the graffiti deliberate rather than accidental. The Rambla del Poblenou is a local promenade, tree-lined, tiled, functioning as its own small evening world. And most people attending the festival never find it. Gracia, uphill from the centre, is even quieter about it. Plazas with iron chairs and trees, bars with open windows, a pace that resists urgency. Learn bon dia, learn gracias. Catalan is on the storefronts first, Spanish second, and the response to a visitor who tries, even badly, is noticeably warmer than the response to one who doesn't. The city has a high tolerance for people doing exactly what they want, and a low tolerance for performative loudness. The photographs worth taking are not the obvious ones. The Mies Pavilion at golden hour, with festival signage barely in frame. The gap between that refinement and the bass you can feel through the ground nearby. The Barceloneta boardwalk at 6 a.m. as the venue empties. Flat water, dawn going pink, festival wristbands on every wrist, people too awake to sleep and too tired to talk. The outdoor stage from the back at peak hour, washed in a single colour, red or amber, with thousands of faces turned the same direction, rendered anonymous and collective at once. The one true thing about this weekend is this. At some point around 3 a.m, standing on an outdoor stage floor in Barcelona, the air finally cool, a headliner performing something that doesn't have a genre yet, you become aware that the city outside the venue is still going. Not sleeping, not waiting, still going, on its own terms, entirely parallel to yours. And the festival, for all its scale and curation and genuine intellectual ambition, is just one more thing Barcelona is doing tonight. We hope you enjoyed the trip. You can support the Liaison podcast by rating it 5 stars and pressing the follow button. And remember, one's destination is never a place, but rather a new way of looking at things.
Grab news. Thomas.